Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk to you about a fruit that has taken the health world by storm. It's praised by fitness gurus, dietitians, and even cardiologists. Yes, talking about the mighty avocado, a powerhouse of nutrition. Avocados have become a dietary staple in many homes, and rightly so. They're celebrated across nutritional communities for their dense concentration of health-supporting compounds. But understanding their benefits requires more than just knowing they're good for you. It requires appreciating the biological systems they influence and the responsibility that comes with eating them. Avocados are not magic, they're molecules. Every cell in the body responds to what we eat, and when we consume avocados, we aren't just filling up, we're instructing our biology. Rich in monounsaturated fats, particularly oleic acid, avocados contribute to reduced systemic inflammation and improved cardiovascular function. Oleic acid plays a role in modulating immune responses and stabilizing cell membranes. When we replace trans fats or excessive saturated fats with avocado-derived fats, we help recalibrate our body's lipid profile. This has been shown to lower LDL cholesterol, raise HDL levels, and improve insulin sensitivity. But these benefits don't happen automatically. They require proper use and awareness of the fruit's condition and preparation. Avocados also provide a critical source of potassium, a mineral often lacking in modern diets. Potassium is essential for maintaining healthy blood pressure levels, supporting electrical signaling in the heart, and reducing muscle cramps. Compared to bananas, avocados deliver more potassium per gram but without the spike in blood sugar. That's key because when the body receives nutrients without being stressed by glucose fluctuations, it functions more efficiently and preserves long-term cellular integrity. The fiber content in avocados further enhances this response by slowing digestion, aiding satiety, supporting gut health through beneficial fermentation in the colon. We also can't overlook the phytochemicals in avocados. Lutein and zeaxanthin are carotenoids present in the flesh that support eye health, reduce oxidative stress, and may offer neuroprotective effects. These compounds accumulate in tissues over time, offering a layer of defense against environmental damage and age-related decline. However, to access these benefits, the avocado must be consumed in its proper state, ripe, fresh, and handled correctly. The enzymes and bioactive compounds degrade with time and exposure to air. This is not just about taste or texture, it's about biochemical integrity. Avocado left out on a counter or improperly stored loses its protective capacity and may even become harmful due to lipid peroxidation. What began as a protective, healing food becomes a source of oxidative stress if we ignore its vulnerability to the environment. In short, eating an avocado is an opportunity to support almost every major system in the body. But that opportunity can only be fully realized when we respect the delicate nature of its compounds. It's not just about putting something healthy into our mouth, it's about preserving its integrity so that it can preserve ours. When an avocado is sliced open, a subtle yet critical process begins: oxidation. At first glance, it might seem like a simple color change on the surface, that familiar browning we've all seen. But beneath that change lies a complex biochemical transformation that alters the very nature of what we're consuming. The fats in avocado, particularly its monounsaturated components like oleic acid, are highly sensitive to oxygen. Once exposed, these fats begin to oxidize, forming lipid peroxides and secondary byproducts such as aldehydes and ketones. Compounds that, when ingested repeatedly, contribute to cellular damage and systemic inflammation. Our bodies are designed to manage small amounts of oxidative stress. We have enzymes like superoxide dismutase catalase, glutathione peroxidase working around the clock to neutralize these threats. However, when we routinely introduce oxidized lipids into our system, we burden these defenses. The oxidized compounds not only promote the generation of free radicals, but also impair mitochondrial function. This is especially concerning because the mitochondria are the powerhouses of our cells. When they're compromised, energy production declines and degenerative processes accelerate. The consequences of this process can be widespread. In the vascular system, oxidized lipids have been implicated in the formation of atherosclerotic plaques. They damage the endothelium, the inner lining of blood vessels, triggering inflammatory responses and attracting immune cells that further exacerbate arterial narrowing. Over time, this contributes to hypertension, heart attacks, and strokes. What began as a nutrient-dense food rich in cardiovascular protection turns into a subtle contributor to the very diseases it was meant to defend against, all because of a lack of awareness in storage and consumption. But it's not just the heart that suffers. The brain, with its high-fat content and demand for oxidative stability, is especially vulnerable. Oxidized lipids have been associated with neurodegenerative processes, including the acceleration of beta amyloid plaque formation seen in conditions like Alzheimer's disease. The repeated ingestion of these compromised fats introduces a chronic, low-grade inflammation in the brain, sometimes described as inflammaging, a silent force undermining cognitive resilience. This is why consuming avocados at the peak of freshness is so essential. When we leave the flesh exposed to air or allow it to sit in the refrigerator unprotected for extended periods, we are consuming more than just softened fruit. We're ingesting the products of lipid degradation. The moment oxidation sets in, the balance tips from nourishment to harm. Understanding oxidation is not just an academic exercise, it's practical knowledge with real implications. We have the ability to preserve the benefits of this remarkable fruit, but only if we act intentionally. Protecting the cut surface with lemon juice, storing it in airtight containers, or simply consuming it shortly after slicing are small steps that yield enormous dividends in long-term health. The difference between healing and harm can be as subtle as how long an avocado sits on your plate. When food spoils, we often rely on visible cues, mold, discoloration, or an unpleasant odor. But what many don't realize is that long before these external signs appear, microscopic changes are already taking place. In the case of avocados, one of the most common mistakes people make is improper storage after slicing. It's a fruit praised for its nutrients, yet if we're not careful, it can become a carrier of harmful substances, nutritionally degraded, biologically unstable, and in some cases, contaminated. Once an avocado is cut, its cellular defenses are compromised. Protective skin is gone, and the internal environment is exposed to oxygen, light, and microbes. These conditions accelerate the breakdown of fats, enzymes, and antioxidants. Over time, the fruit's natural oils begin to oxidize, and as lipid oxidation progresses, toxic byproducts begin to accumulate. These are not just inactive or neutral substances, they're active participants in inflammatory pathways within the body. The problem compounds when avocados are stored carelessly in the refrigerator. Air exposure is a major catalyst for oxidative damage, and most people do not adequately seal or protect the exposed fruit. A half avocado left open in the fridge, even for just a day, begins to deteriorate rapidly. The cool temperature may slow microbial growth, but it does little to stop chemical degradation. In fact, low humidity in most refrigerators accelerates moisture loss, leaving the surface leathery and more susceptible to further oxidation and contamination. Bacterial colonization is another concern. Though the interior of a fresh avocado is sterile at the time of cutting, once exposed, the moist, nutrient-rich environment becomes a breeding ground for opportunistic bacteria. Utensil surfaces aren't clean, or if hands touch the flesh and reintroduce microbes, there's potential for cross-contamination. And since many people consume avocados raw, there's no heat treatment to neutralize these pathogens. The risk may be small in a single instance. Over time, especially in individuals with weakened immune systems or gut imbalances, this can add up to a chronic stressor on the body. It's a contradiction. Same fruit that supports heart health, balances blood sugar, and fuels the brain can also contribute to metabolic strain if mishandled. This is why attention to detail matters. Simple actions like brushing the cut surface with lemon or lime juice, natural sources of ascorbic acid, can slow oxidation. Storing the avocado in a tightly sealed container with minimal air exposure, or even placing it flesh down against an airtight surface, reduces the breakdown of its healthy fats and slows microbial growth. In the broader context of health, these small daily decisions are often underestimated, but they accumulate. Over time, they shape the quality of our nutrition and the resilience of our cells. The margin between nourishment and harm can be razor thin, and when we store our food thoughtlessly, we may unknowingly trade its healing power for something that quietly undermines our well-being. There's a growing trend circulating through wellness blogs and social media suggesting that the avocado seed, the large, dense pit in the center, is not just edible but beneficial. People grind it into powders, blend it into smoothies, or steep it into teas, often motivated by the idea that every part of a superfood must be healthy. But this assumption overlooks something critical. Not all parts of a plant are meant for human consumption. In the case of the avocado seed, the risks may outweigh the perceived benefits. The seed of the avocado contains several compounds not found in the flesh, including certain tannins and a fungicidal toxin known as persin. In small amounts, persin is generally harmless to humans, but its toxicity has been well documented in animals. More importantly, the concentration and impact of consuming ground avocado seed regularly haven't been rigorously studied in large human populations. Without long-term data, we cannot safely assume that daily ingestion of these substances is without consequence. In plant biology, seeds often serve protective functions. They deter animals and insects from eating them to ensure the propagation of the species. Many contain bitter or astringent compounds that are natural defense mechanisms. The bitterness of the avocado seed is a signal, a chemical message from the plant that this part is not meant for routine consumption. When we override that message in the name of oozing the whole fruit, we may be introducing compounds that disrupt gut health, liver function, or immune balance. Moreover, some proponents of avocado seed consumption point to its antioxidant content, arguing that it can neutralize free radicals and reduce inflammation. But it's important to distinguish between what's found in a test tube and what happens inside the human body. Laboratory tests might show antioxidant capacity, but when these compounds enter the complex environment of the digestive system, their activity and absorption can change dramatically. In fact, high levels of certain plant compounds, such as tannins or alkaloids, can interfere with nutrient absorption and lead to digestive irritation if consumed frequently or in concentrated forms. Another issue is standardization. Like supplements that are regulated and tested for dosage, people consuming avocado seeds at home have no way of knowing the concentration or safety threshold of what they're ingesting. One seed may be more potent than another. Grinding it into powder may concentrate the compounds to levels that over time may tax the liver or kidneys, organs already tasked with filtering and processing hundreds of biochemical reactions daily. It's easy to be drawn into the appeal of maximizing every part of a food, especially something as praised as the avocado. But caution must precede the enthusiasm. The pursuit of health is not just about extracting more from nature. It's about understanding our boundaries within it. Just because something is natural doesn't mean it's safe or beneficial when consumed outside its intended role. Respecting the purpose of each part of a plant, including the seed, is a principle grounded in both science and wisdom. When we think about nutrition, it's easy to focus on the physical, vitamins, minerals, calories, and macros. But food is far more than fuel. It's information. Every bite we take communicates something to our biology, activating or suppressing cellular processes, modulating hormones, influencing gene expression, and shaping the terrain of our long-term health. This is why two people can eat the same number of calories and experience very different metabolic outcomes. The body isn't just counting numbers, it's interpreting messages. Avocados, when consumed properly, send powerful signals. They provide the type of fats that support insulin sensitivity, they stabilize blood sugar, and they promote the production of anti-inflammatory molecules. But when their biochemical structure is altered through oxidation, improper storage, or misguided practices like consuming the seed, the message changes. The signals become mixed. What was intended to be anti-inflammatory may now promote low-grade inflammation. What should support mitochondrial function may now impair it. This shift happens because the body's systems are highly responsive to subtle chemical cues. At the cellular level, nutrients act as signals. Omega-9 fats like oleic acid, for example, activate specific gene pathways that reduce the production of inflammatory cytokines and enhance lipid metabolism. But when these fats oxidize, they form reactive aldehydes and peroxides that do the opposite, trigger oxidative stress, damage DNA, and strain detoxification pathways in the liver. The same molecule, under different conditions, sends a completely different message. The gut microbiome is also highly sensitive to the kind of information food provides. Properly handled avocados supply dietary fiber that feeds beneficial bacteria, promoting the production of short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, compounds linked to immune regulation, mental clarity, and reduced colon cancer risk. But a spoiled or contaminated avocado introduces oxidized fats and possibly pathogenic bacteria into the gut, which may disrupt this delicate microbial balance. The microbiome then sends a distress signal, one that reverberates throughout the nervous system, the immune system, and the brain. This is why we must shift our mindset from simply asking, is this food healthy, to asking, what message is this food delivering to my cells? It's a far more nuanced approach, but it aligns with the body's complexity. No single food exists in isolation from the systems it interacts with. The way we process, prepare, and store that food matters just as much as the ingredients list on a nutrition label. In this context, avocado is not just a fruit, it's a molecular messenger. When consumed in its natural, unspoiled form, it delivers a message of healing, energy, and balance. But when altered by oxidation, mishandling, or misunderstanding, that same fruit can whisper a message of stress, decay, and imbalance. The key is not in fearing food, but in respecting the powerful role it plays in shaping our internal environment. Because ultimately, what we eat is not just what fuels us, it's what forms us. Health isn't built in moments of crisis. It's forged in the quiet, daily decisions that often go unnoticed. What we choose to eat, how we prepare it, when we consume it, even how we store it, these choices accumulate. Over time, they either build resilience or erode it. The avocado is a perfect example of this principle. Fruit with powerful nutritional potential can either serve as a tool for healing or, through small acts of negligence, become a subtle contributor to harm. It's not about fear. It's about awareness. When we approach food with mindfulness and intention, it becomes preventive medicine. Consider how often we cut into an avocado and leave the second half exposed, uncovered, perhaps lying face up in the refrigerator, forgotten until the next day. It seems harmless. Yet in that brief act of convenience, we allow oxidation to begin. Lipid structures that were once stable begin to break down. The protective plant compounds that supported our immune system begin to degrade. If we consume that same avocado the next day without thinking, we may be ingesting more than just a browned fruit. We're taking in molecules that the body now sees as threats rather than support. But the power of this story is not in what can go wrong. It's in what we can do right. These small, seemingly insignificant habits, brushing a slice of avocado with lemon juice, storing it in an airtight container, choosing to eat it fresh, are acts of self-care that ripple through the systems of the body. They reduce oxidative load, preserve nutrient integrity, maintain the delicate balance of beneficial fats that support cardiovascular and neurological function. What's remarkable is that these micro decisions are accessible to everyone, require expensive interventions, advanced technology, or elite knowledge. They require attention and intention. This is the foundation of true prevention, not waiting for symptoms, not reacting to disease, but creating an environment in the body where disease is less likely to take root in the first place. The same principle applies beyond food. Hydration, sleep, movement, stress management. Each is made up of daily, repeatable actions. None of them are dramatic on their own, but together they shape the expression of our genes, the strength of our immune system, the health of our brain and heart. Food is just one layer, but it's a critical one because we interact with it multiple times a day. So when it comes to something as simple as how we handle an avocado, we can choose either carelessness or consciousness. One leads to slow erosion. The other builds a foundation for vitality. We don't need perfection, but we do need consistency. Health is not an accident. It's a consequence of what we do, how we think, and the respect we show our bodies every single day. It often begins with the smallest of choices, like how we treat a piece of fruit.